Reggie here, your friendly neighborhood bodybuilder and comic book collector, and I want to welcome you to another one of my live streams. So I originally came in the room here to spend some time recording a video on BCW's comic book showcases here. And I realized that these things actually aren't that complicated. And so I decided that instead of doing a pre-recorded video, I would just jump on here live and hang out with you guys a little bit, show you the product, talk about it, bounce over to the BCW website, and then also answer questions that you guys may have. So before we get started, I want to say some hellos to some people that have joined me here in the room. And let's see who we have here. We have Undead Mousy. How you doing, brother, from across the pond? Perry Comics is here. Horror Breakdown is here. Just the Rican is here. How you doing? Mightiest of Mats is in the house. Jeremiah is here. Johnny Future, Tony is here. Bama Lynx is in the house. Old Wolf 65. Who else is here? Ariel is in the house. How you doing, brother? P. Patrick is here. Gorilla Grodd. Vox is here. Wilson Ramos is also in the house. It is good to see all of you guys. And again, I'm glad you guys were able to hang out with me for just a couple of minutes here. I decided again, last minute, to just go live. I waited for Chris to finish because I saw that he was on. So I wanted to give him a couple of minutes. I see people saying that there are some things going on with the audio. Is the audio okay now? And what about the visual? Hopefully everything is working now. Very strange experience watching on my Apple TV, but chatting on the phone. All right, so okay, so I think everything is working okay. All right, Daniel, how you doing, brother? It's good to see you. All right, so Ghastly Gamer, we may get to that in just a couple of moments. I know that was one of the things that Chris was kind of talking about. Maybe we'll get into that. Someone says the visual is a little choppy. Hopefully it straightens itself out. It looks clear on my end, but that doesn't always mean anything. So let me know if it doesn't clear up. We can always reset this thing and try one more time. So let me talk about what Chris was talking about. I would probably agree that it is a little bit dishonest to take things off the shelf the day that they come out and actually sell them for higher prices the next day or on eBay, right? Ideally, you know, shops should do the ethical and right thing by their customers. And so especially for loyal customers, people that are coming in buying 20 copies of a book, maybe not so much, but for loyal customers that have pull list or come in on a regular basis, I think they should absolutely do the right thing for them. So Musher, we are mixing it up, brother. We are mixing it up. Having a little fun. Caleb, Comic Smurf Murphy, how you doing, brother? It's good to see you. Again, hopefully you guys can actually see me here and everything is working out. So yeah, we can talk more about that on the Q&A portion, but I wanted to spend a little time again talking about these things that came in. These are the BCW comic book showcases. I think everybody out there knows that my channel is partially sponsored by BCW. And so as part of my agreement with them, I basically do a product review for them once per month. And so we've done several over the last few months. And today we are going to spend some time talking about these comic book showcases. Now, what's... maybe it is. Okay. Do you guys think I should reset this thing? I can reset it and come back in and hopefully have it clearer. Chris Barrett says, it's like watching TVs in the 90s. That is never a good thing, my friend. All right. So let me reboot this thing. Actually, it looks clearer. It just... All right, so all right, so someone said it looks better. So maybe something, whatever was stuck in the pipe has now cleared itself. All right, so why I want to talk about these things is because I actually get a lot of questions from people about the various things that I use on the wall to actually attach my comics. And I've used other products in the past and people are always like, so what do you do? How do you attach it to the wall, et cetera, et cetera. And so there's videos on the channel that of talk about those other things. But today I want to actually talk about these showcases because I think that they are an inexpensive way to decorate a comic book space. And I think that's what makes them cool. And I was sort of excited and sort of not excited to talk about them for a couple of reasons. Let me show you these things first. And so they actually come in a couple of different options, which I think is really cool. This is the comic book showcase. This is the regular for regular and Silver Age comics. Here is one for moderns and currents. And what's cool about these two, I think these two are the newest that they have out. What's cool about these is that they have UV protection. And so I think that that's one of the big things that is a real advantage for this, is that they have UV protection. So if there is any light in the room, you have some protection against UV light. And I think according to the site, I think it's like 97% effective. And so I think that that is an advantage for people that want to display, but don't have the ability to completely block out all light. So that's one option. The other option is a silver and also a current that does not have UV protection. And I believe that these are actually less expensive than the UV protection, as one would imagine. They may also be a slightly older version, but that is also an option for people. So again, just a couple of things. And then again, so I wasn't terribly excited about these until I started to play with them a little bit more. And so when I took them out of the packaging, what I realized is that these things are made out of polystyrene. So they are basically a hard plastic. And I wasn't sure if I was going to dig the hard plastic, to be honest with you. I wasn't sure how the book would look, but this is essentially the front of it. It's basically a clear front. And then there's a back side where you can actually put a nail in the wall. But it's basically, you unhinge it from the bottom, and the thing basically pops off, almost like a little bit of a clamshell, but the case is removed. Now, the way that you use this thing, here is actually a Silver Age. This is a square bound Thor, which, as you guys know, is pretty thick. This thing actually sits inside of the back tray, right? So no bag and board or anything like that. The comic is just placed inside. And I wasn't sure how I would feel about that, right? Because we never unbag and board comic books, right? And so you always want to have it be protected. But again, it sits in there. It sits kind of nicely. And again, this is a thick book, right? And so it actually sits down in there almost flush with this back part. And then you kind of position the top hooks around the upper edge here. And then you get that nice little click, which that click actually made me feel a lot better about these things, because it was always like, is it going to fall out? Is it going to come unhinged and the book going to fall out? But that click gives me a certain amount of assurance that this thing is actually locked in there. And yes, to Undead Mousie's point, there is no bag and board, and that's part of what gave me pause. But Jess Pele is asking another really important question. And yes, there is UV protection with these things, which I think is kind of cool, because my room here, I've blacked out my window. So there is no natural light coming into this room at all. It's in the back of the house. It's kind of cool back here. No light coming in. But I know a lot of people don't have the ability to completely black out a room. And so the fact that these have some UV protection, I think, is really, really nice. And so that's kind of how this thing fits. A Silver Age book will fit in there. And this, again, was a square bound Thor. So it's pretty thick, and it is in there pretty securely. There is a little space around the top and around the side for a slightly larger book beyond this Thor, but it fits in there quite nicely. And what's cool, on the back side, it has a little V notch here for a nail. And so what I plan to use is my handy dandy drywall screws. I'll be using these to shoot a screw into the wall, so I know that it's secure in the drywall. And then I will just hang the comic on the back side of it. So it works pretty nicely. Again, I wasn't sure how I was going to like them, but once I saw a book in there, I got a little more comfortable. So here's the modern current. Yeah, Rican, we'll look at the cost in just a second. Chris Barrett says, just put sunblock on it. Chris, you put sunblock on your book first, and then I'll do it. Let's do it that way. And Vox is making the point. Yeah, that king size Thor square bound is a thick book, and it actually fits quite securely inside of that holder there. So again, gives me a little comfort. So here's one of the Go Collect exclusive variants that I give away because of my relationship with Go Collect. This is actually a thick book. The cover is made out of cardstock, which is kind of cool, but I'm actually setting that one inside of the Modern Current showcase from BCW. And again, I'm going to clip the top of this thing, get it in the right position first, clip the top of it, and then clip it down. And there you have a modern book that is also in there. And again, even with this one, you have a little bit of space at the top and a little bit of space on the side. I mean, as you guys know, as you go from publisher to publisher, they tend to have some slightly different sizes in their modern book or their Silver Age book. They're not all one size perfectly, which is why BCW leaves that little bit of space on there. This one is the same setup. You have UV protection in this version, the V on the backside to hang your nail, and it's actually pretty nice. It's a pretty streamlined type of product, which I think displays a comic quite nicely. I'm actually planning to mount these on my walls in the back here because I think they work. I think they're slick, you know. So let's pull up the website. We'll pull up the website and we'll actually look at some of the prices for these things so that you guys can get some idea of what we're talking about here from a pricing perspective. So let me get this thing ready, and we are going to go to the BCW website and take a look. So I'm going to share my screen here. So here is the comic book showcase, the silver with the UV protection. You can see it's polystyrene shell, wall mountable, right? UV protection is 97%. So again, a little bit of light actually gets in. So you probably don't want to put it in direct sunlight, but you do have some protection for maybe even ambient light in your room. The price for this thing is $9.40. So relatively inexpensive. And this is exactly what it looks like right here. This is the one I just showed you guys a few moments ago, but it's pretty slick. Here's the back side of it, so you guys can see that. And what's that one? Oh, that's a video. I guess they're testing out the UV protection there. So you can see here that if you do buy from BCW, it is in stock. It's $9.40. If you buy 5 of them, they give you an 11% discount. If you buy 25, which is a lot, the price drops. You get a 16% discount. So that is the Silver Age version. Here is the current / modern. This one, again, crystal clear face, black wall mountable, holds a comic. You can kind of see the dimensions there. This one, unfortunately, looks like it's on back order for a little while, but the price of this one is $7.20. Actually, I don't know. This is actually the wrong one. Sorry about that, guys. That's actually the wrong one. This is, I believe, the non-UV protected version, which might be why it's actually on back order. See if I can find the regular. Here we go. Nope, that's silver too. That is silver. Let's see if I can find it. I may not be able to locate it. Let's see, accessories. See if we can locate this thing on here. This is what happens when you do live shows. This is the silver, the 940 that we just looked at with the UV protection. That's that one. Scrolling down. Here's the current, but I believe that that's the one without UV protection. For some reason, that's the only one that I'm seeing right now. So let's assume that it's slightly more expensive than this one here. But here you go. This is essentially very similar, except the other has the UV protection. But you can kind of see some of the prices. The more you buy, the more they discount it. And then the very last one that I'm actually going to show you is this one right here. This thing is actually an upgrade from the previous one. The others were made out of hard plastic, but this one here is actually made out of wood, and it has glass front. So it is a sturdier option, wall mountable, of course, and it's $59.80. And then if you buy a couple more, you get a 13% discount on those. And I'll actually show you that one here as I bring the screen back to me. You can actually see that here is the larger version. This is the current comic book frame. This one has the matte surround around it. This thing is pretty nice. It is actually pretty darn big. You can see here just how large that is in comparison to the other. It actually makes for a pretty nice display. My guess is that this one is also, you can mount this one without a bag and board, but this is a pretty sturdy one, right? It is actually somewhat heavy. It has a little bit of a clamshell back here. So you can actually pop it open, drop your comic on the inside there, and then lock it back down. And of course, it has a hanger there for you to be able to mount it to the wall. But this thing's pretty slick, but it's also almost 60 bucks. So let me go back to the chat here to see if people have questions, comments, or thoughts. I think somebody just posted up one of the things here. How much cheaper than Amazon? Am I looking at any golden age stuff? No, I am not getting into those deep waters. So Vox was asking a question about shipping, and I think for BCW, shipping is dependent upon how much you order. And if memory serves, if you order $80 or so, then your shipping is free. But it may also depend upon where you live, how much they charge. So I would definitely encourage you to do a couple of things. BCW, I do believe, likes people to buy from local comic shops wherever possible because that's one of their customers. And if something isn't available at the local comic shop, you can always reach out to BCW, go to their website, and their URL for their website is bcwsupplies.com. I would say, build your shopping cart and actually look at your prices to see what it'll cost to actually get the items and then what it'll cost to have them sent out to you. But again, people are always asking, how do you mount things to the walls? Or I'm setting up my own comic book room and I want to decorate it. I want to make it look good. This is a solid way to go. These things are relatively inexpensive to get, and I think that they work quite nicely. Oh, here, Ghost Host Memories actually pulled up the current, and he says that it is also $9.40. So again, if that is correct, which I don't doubt, that is the version that has the UV protection. So you're looking at about 10 bucks, right, for the current or the modern. And then if you don't need the UV protection, I think your prices drop to about $7 each. So it makes it a little bit more affordable. Chris Barrett says he doesn't trust glass near his I respect that. It's a good thing that these are made out of hard plastic. It's only the larger one that is made out of glass. But again, they're giving people options to give people, some options and some flexibility depending upon what they want. And Undead Mousy says he's interested, pending shipping to UK. So look into it, brother. Let me know. Let me know what they say about the shipping. So Musher says that's where the AF-15 will go. Brother, when that AF-15 comes in, it is going to be a special day, my friend. Let me tell you. I actually have my second order was actually sent in to CGC to be graded and encapsulated and all that kind of stuff. So hopefully those will make their way back to me at some point in the near future, and we will continue along our path. But stay tuned because I do have part 2 of the road to AF-15 coming out sometime soon, possibly as early as next week. Logan is in the house. How you doing, Logan? You can use it with the bag, but you must remove the board in order to have the right look. So Lawrence is correcting me here. He says that you can use the bag. I'm guessing that you might have to fold the bag back though. I'm guessing because the bag, I think, is a little bit bigger than the comic. So you may have to fold it back and you'll have to balance that against, the pressure and the tightness of the case against the bag, against the comic. But I didn't try the bag. I don't think I did try to work it with a board and it absolutely would not work. But Lauren says that there may be a way to do it with the book. Chris, with the bag. Sorry. Chris is asking, if there is a promo code. There is not a promo code right now. My discussions with BCW have not yet broached that subject of discounts, but I hope to be able to do that in the near future, to have a conversation with them about, can we do a discount code for subscribers? The challenge, however, is that they already offer pretty nice discounts on their stuff, as you saw, right? They 11% if you order a couple things, 13 if you order more. I think they have discounts applied to just about everything. So I don't know that my discount would be in excess or in addition to the discounts that they already offer. So that's probably something that we need to talk about. One may cancel the other out because I doubt that they're going to stack it, because that would be a pretty large discount, Chaotic Kindness says that's a bit of an extreme frame. It is serious, man. But imagine if you had a killer comic that you absolutely loved. I mean, this is a really cool way to display it. Or more, if you also had a piece of original art. Let's say that you got a sketch or something like that on a backing board from, let's say, Jim Lee, for example. This might be a really cool way to display it without having to go to, I can't even think of the name of one of those picture framing companies, but that could be an inexpensive inexpensive way to actually get something framed. And I've done frames in the past and they are not cheap. 59 bucks, 60 bucks is somewhat inexpensive versus what it costs to get a custom frame and mat done. So again, people have some options to decide. Reggie, make sure you do another mounting video. Also, Lawrence is saying he has the Avengers annual #1 in a bag and it still fits perfectly. There you go. There you go. So Lawrence definitely has some experience with the BCW products. So I think that that's definitely cool. I think anytime someone has practical hands-on experience doing it, I definitely think that that's a value add. Undead Mousy is asking if this would work with the Amazing Spider-Man annuals. My guess is that it will, because this is a Silver Age Thor king size special. It is square bound and it fits in there quite nicely. It doesn't look like it's compressed, no Newton rings or anything like that. So my guess is that if it works with this massive Thor, then it should work with the Amazing Spider-Man annuals as well. And honestly, Undead Mousy, I can try it a little bit later off camera. And if you message me on Instagram, I can confirm for you, even send you a photo of how it looks, because I actually have some annuals here in the room that I could definitely try out and let you know. Let me see, free shipping for orders over $80 in the US or local pickup in Anderson. Jay Perry Hill, thank you for that, brother. Definitely appreciate that. Anything there about shipping to the UK, or is it only mentioning the US? I honestly don't even know whether they actually ship international or not. A couple of people listening at work, definitely appreciate you guys hanging in. Found Comics says he actually has 2 of those frames. Do you have the 2 big ones or the 2 smaller ones? I'm curious, H-Town. Richard Scranton asks if I'm going to frame my first appearance of the Gibbon. The first appearance of the Gibbon is en route to CGC for encapsulation. No, I'm joking. It's not. It's not. Lauren says it is sexy once you get it hung up. So many compliments. Yeah, and when to Lawrence's point, when I first pulled it out of the box in the plastic, I kind of looked at it and I was like, I don't know about this. I don't know. It's plastic. I don't know if I like that, but I actually kind of held it up on the wall with a book in it, and it doesn't look bad. I mean, it is a nice case. It really is a simple design. It's a clean design, and really, when you look at it, you're really focused on the book, especially if the book is a really attractive one. That's where your focus is. Scrolling down, trying to look through some of these comments. Love BCW and how you factory talk about. Yeah, I talk to BCW, not a ton. Maybe once a month we have a back and forth about something. So I definitely appreciate the kind words, guys. But again, so I think, again, these are pretty solid products, relatively inexpensive, ranging anywhere from $7 up to $9. The $9 having the UV protection, working for regular and silver and modern and also current comics. And then you have a more expensive option that is actually made out of wood instead of plastic. So again, a couple of really cool options. So my guess, chaotic kindness in these metal covers. You're awesome, brother. My guess is that they will hold a metal cover as well, as long as it fits within the dimensions of a standard comic, right? Whether it be, I'm guessing that those are more modern. So my assumption is that they would fit in there with no problem. So here. He's dreading organizing his collection, 20 large boxes. Oh my goodness. Robotech 909 says he's dreading organizing his collection. He has 20 long boxes all mixed up. That is a daunting task, my friend. It is a daunting task. The best recommendation that I can give you is to break it down into manageable tasks, my friend. Get yourself a couple of brand new boxes, whether they be long boxes or short boxes. And what I would do is I would start to, of course, think ahead of time about how it is that I want to organize the collection, whether it's alphabetical, whether it's DC versus Marvel, whether it's superhero versus non-superhero, right? I don't know what's in your collection, but you want to give thought to how do you want to structure this? And then I would just get some brand new boxes. That way as you are going through your collection, these 20 boxes, you can pull out of it books and then drop them into a bin and then just kind of organize within that bin, right? So imagine if you have a Spider-Man bin, a Batman bin, an Avengers box, right? You've got three boxes. Everything that you find in the 20 that fits into one of those three categories, you pull it out, you drop it into that long box or short box, and then you organize it within there once you kind of get closer to filling it up. That's one way that you can kind of break that thing down. And then you've also got to decide whether you want to catalog your collection while you're doing all this, right? Because that's another part of this thing is one, organization, and then two, cataloging and inventorying. You got to decide how far you want to go with this. So it is definitely a daunting task, but it's also a pretty fun task, I think. Perry Hill says, not good news for the UK. He put in a London postcode. Shipping starts at $99.71. Yeah, that's a chunk of money. Brother, I actually looked into sending some things to Canada the other day. It was $25 to send a Gemini shipper. $25. So again, if you are deciding to get some things sent over to the UK or Canada or wherever you happen to be, you already know that it's going to be expensive. So it's just one of those things you buy as much as you can afford. That way your shipping is somewhat spread across multiple items instead of one item, so just something to think about. But definitely I appreciate Jeremiah Perry Hill, you looking that up for me, brother. Can't get enough is in the house. How you doing, brother? Chaotic Kindness says he's dropping one off at Crush and he'll let you know. Yeah, I don't know if does Crush carry these? I know that Crush carries a lot of the BCW products like the store folios and the bags and boards, but I wasn't sure if they carried these, and they may. So yeah, you can always go in there. Those guys aren't going to care if you want to open the box up and actually try it out. So we Chaotic Kindness and I actually share a local comic shop. So oftentimes he'll leave things there for me, or I'll leave things there for him. But it's a pretty cool shop where people are really friendly and they're just really good people. So do I have a comic organization video? Ramos is asking that. So I have a video that talks about cataloging my collection. I have a video where I talk about how I label my books based upon significance, but not necessarily an organization video per se. I've been debating doing something like that. And I haven't quite figured out the best way to do it just yet. So I need to continue noodling that. But again, we can always have a conversation about it. I've actually shown people here in the room my setup. If they message me on Instagram, I've actually shot some footage here in the room, just kind of amateur stuff behind the scenes to show people how I organize it. And I don't know that I have a true methodology. At the end of the day, it's a comic in a box that is stacked on another box. That's my level of organization. Everything is backed and boarded, and then I oftentimes put labels on the outside of the book of the boxes. So that's like the extent of it. But yeah, if I decide to do a video, I probably need to give a lot more thought to it than just what I rambled there. So Ramos, let me know if that helps. Let me know if you need some more information. Chris Bear says, why aren't those medium boxes? I'm not sure what you mean by medium box. Oh, instead of long and short. No one wants a medium box, brother. No one wants that. No one. Bello says it's great that they provide so many options now. As a kid, my stepdad made a display for, oh, that's awesome. Your dad sounds like a handy guy if he's able to make displays for comics, man. And there's still craftsmen out there that do that kind of stuff. They make desks and they make cabinets and they make individual holders for comics. I think all that stuff is super creative. I don't have that talent. And again, these are inexpensive options for people that don't have that talent to employ, and that's part of why I dig it. But yeah, if your dad did that, congrats. Well, let me back up. Congrats on having a handy dad. Hopefully you got some of that skill. And two, congrats on that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, because I'm certain that I hope you still have that book. Scrolling through the comments here, I just lost a lot of the comments, so I apologize for that. So Vox is basically saying he uses a League of Comic Book Geeks app to keep track of his. There are so many options. I've never heard of League of Comic Geeks, but there's CLZ. I use Go Collect to organize my collection. There are so many options to like catalog a collection. Some free, some pay, some you pay once and then you have it forever. I know people that use Excel spreadsheets and Word files. I don't think that there is a wrong option. I don't think that there is a perfect option. It's a what is the option that works for you in this moment, right? But as in all things, what I would say is give thought to what you need now and then what you might need into the foreseeable future. And then cast a wide net. See what services, see what options are out there before you decide or before you lock onto one. See what's out there. And then hopefully, if you give enough forethought beforehand, you'll pick an option that makes sense for your needs now, but also gives you room to grow into the future. That's one of the things that I always kind of recommend to people is before you take action, just think. And that's hard for me because I have a natural bias for action. So I purposefully have to slow myself down in order to give purposeful thought to something, or else I'm down a road and realize that I messed up and then I've got to backtrack. And that's a whole nother can of worms. Um, yeah, so Jess Pele says a label printer is a really good investment if you have a decent sized collection. Yes, I actually picked up, and I do have a video on this one. I think it's called like organizing my collection. It's a green thumbnail. It's a green and black thumbnail. My wife actually picked me up a brother label maker, and I actually use that to label all of my comics. And I'm looking here in the room. I actually don't have any handy, but what I do is I will go to when a book comes in and it has some significance, I go to Key Collector app, I look up the book, I look up the significance, and then I actually type it into the brother label maker. I print it off and then I stick it on the back of the comic. That way I don't have to remember the significance of the book because I've looked it up and it's now forever, right? Forever captured on that back and board. So that's just a good way for me to kind of keep my collection organized. And I do it when the book comes in versus letting them build up on me and then trying to do it. So I think Just Pele is definitely onto something like with that. And there is a video on the channel that actually talks about that. Making a comment, somebody made a comment about the Omnis. I'm scrolling. The Omnis in the back would look dope on the wall, but sadly they can't fit in anything. Yeah, those actually aren't Omnis. What's sitting back there are actually the Gerber guides. Those things are massive, but they are basically reference books, so not necessarily something that I would ever hang on a wall. But yeah, I think they look cool. That's part of the reason why I have them sitting in the back of the room, almost as like decoration. Let me see. I'm scrolling through here. Let's see. Carter is asking a question. Did I see how his brother saved 100K in Slab Comics? No, I haven't seen that. I haven't seen that. Jay Perry says that's exactly what he does. Too lazy to do anything else. I respect that, brother. Chris from We Love Comics is here, brother. It is good to see you. I respectfully waited for your live stream to end before I actually went live. And Chris is asking what my opinion is on comics being sold out and then sold on eBay the day before comic is supposed to be coming out and leaving. I think to your point, Chris, even without having watched part of your video, I didn't comment, but I was there. I think it's unethical for a shop to do that. I think that if a shop is ordering comics for the shop, that they should give their customers an opportunity to get those books. Now, that isn't to say that I think that they should allow people to come in and buy 10 copies, 5 copies, whatever it is. I feel like they should give their customers at least an opportunity, a couple of days, right, to be able to buy a comic at the cover price. I think that that's the right thing to do. And, I've never been a shop owner. But I like to think of myself as an ethical person, a person that tries to do the right thing. And so I really like when people try to do the right thing. That doesn't mean that you always get it right, but I think that this is clearly so wrong that there is no ambiguity around it, right? It is, if the comic is there, the comic should be there for the people to be able to buy it. I think that that's the right thing to do. So And again, that's tough because we're actually going to have a comic book shop owner on the channel tomorrow. One of my local comic shops, comics and figure addicts. Juan is going to be on here. He's been in business for the last 7 years. He's going to be here on the channel, and maybe that's something that we'll actually talk about. We are going to be discussing the whether the comic book market is going to crash. That's going to be the subject of tomorrow's conversation, and we everybody has an opinion. Yes, no, it looks like the 90s. We're headed towards a collapse. Variants are the end of the world. Um, we are going to have a conversation about it with someone that is actually in the market, right? Not somebody that's looking at the market or someone that was in the market and now out of it. We are going to talk to someone that is actually in it right now and has been for the last 7 years with, I think, a pretty successful shop. So we're going to sit down with Juan tomorrow. We're going to have a conversation, and we're going to ask him a lot of questions about whether this market is going to fail and what he thinks about variants and what he thinks about potentially some of what Chris has already brought up in his live stream. So kind of scrolling through the comments here. John's Comics with Kids, how you doing, brother? Yes, it is a midday stream. It's like a brunch. It's like a brunch with Reggie kind of thing. And if you guys are coming into the chat now, I spent some time at the beginning of this live stream talking about BCW's product. This thing right here, it is the comic book showcases. These things are really awesome. So I definitely encourage you to go back and watch the beginning of the video. We are just now having a little bit of a Q&A talking about various topics, but the first part of the video was really focused on a review, if you will, of these showcases, which I think are really awesome. So Marky Mark says he uses a spreadsheet. So here, I'm gonna be honest with you, bro. When I came back into comics at the end of 2017, my wife bought me a collection. I combined it with my own collection. I basically spent about 3 weeks integrating these two collections, going book by book by book, cataloging everything, documenting what was signed and what was not signed, that kind of thing, the grades of the books, all that stuff. And it was a pretty nice spreadsheet, right? Where I felt very comfortable that I knew exactly what was in my collection. Somehow that file was deleted. And I have not had the courage to go back and catalog my entire collection since that happened, especially because the collection probably has doubled in size. Definitely the value has gone up significantly, but the number of books has also doubled. So I would recommend making sure that you back up your files, back up your hard drive, and or go with a cloud-based option. That way you can avoid any accidental deletions, because I'm gonna be honest, they are soul crushing. when, when I lost that file, it was soul crushing. I sat at my computer silently for several minutes, very upset with myself for allowing that file to be deleted and not having a backup. So if you go that route, I say, have a backup plan. Have a backup plan. All right, so as of now, you can export your collection into an Excel file. That's a very nice move. The question is, even if you can export it, can you import it elsewhere? That's part of the problem with a lot of these, is that you can export it as a comma delineated file. But then the problem is sometimes re-importing that into another application, because as you guys know, there's a lot of variants, a lot of different covers, A, B, D, C, blah, 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 blah. There's a lot of options. So imagine exporting a file from one platform and trying to import it with 100% accuracy into another platform. It's not necessarily an easy task, which is why a lot of places don't allow you to import, but they will allow you to export, right? So that's something that you definitely want to think about. And it goes back to what I was saying before about think about what your needs are now and think about what your needs might be in the future, and pick a solution that you believe will meet your needs, at least in the foreseeable future, because it's easier said than done to export and then import into a different platform. And I know this from experience because I used to be a web developer and used to do databases, but I also know it from having conversations with various companies that do this kind of stuff specifically for comic books. So just something to be aware of. All right, I'm scrolling through the comments trying to see. Here's a Lawrence Jackson is basically saying stash my comics allows you to do both. So there you go. I just unhid that comment, so you guys can go ahead and take a look at that. He also says the pictures of each book, and you can also add your own pictures. That's part of the reason why I actually like Go Collect. Go Collect, yes, is organized for CGC slabs, but what I really like about it is you can actually take photos of your actual books, and that's why I dig it. So I use it honestly for high grade books. I use it for my CGC slabs, yes, but I also use it for my raw high value comics because I can take photos. And the reason for this is that Go Collect actually allows you to run a report. And in this report, you can actually see what did you pay for your comics? What is the current value of your comics based upon FMV? And I use that report for the purpose of getting insurance on my collection. And so again, all cloud based. If something were to ever happen, I am going to focus on my family and this collection will be fine because I always have the high value books already cataloged in the cloud through Go Collect. And then I also have the report that shows what I paid versus what it's worth at FMV currently. And then I also have photos of condition. So if I'm showing non-CGC books, I have photos of the front and the back to evaluate the overall condition and thus the grade that I assigned it. So again, these are options for people to consider. No perfect solution, but throwing out a couple of things for you guys to consider, and stashmycomics.com is definitely an option. Eric Compton is in the house. How you doing, brother? Prescription price. I don't know what you mean by that. Prescription price on Go Collect. I'm not sure what that means. So Lauren says he had a flood in his mom's basement and had to stash his comics to file a claim. It took forever, but all the books that he had, there you go. There you go. At the end of the day, man, the collectible insurance is important, which is why I had Collect Insure on the channel a couple of weeks ago, because I think that collectible insurance is very important for people. So definitely, if you don't have insurance, you definitely want to look into it. Mr. Comics 89 says he has a CLZ app. He doesn't know how to export it into an external hard drive to keep it safe. You definitely want to reach out to them. I mean, but again, they're also potentially cloud-based, so you may actually be okay. But I'm certain if you send them a message, you can have a whole conversation with them about it. So J. Perry Hill says if you use a .csv file, you may be able to transport. Yeah, there is the possibility. My assumption based upon conversations and based upon my own knowledge is that it won't be 100%. If you think about how many variants there are and how many variations there are between pence and regular issue and A versus a D and this cover versus that cover, exclusive variant versus, it's complicated. And so the likelihood that you're going to be able to export and re-import with 100% certainty is slim and none, depending upon, of course, the database that you are importing into and the limitations that they may put in place, right? So it can happen. It can happen, but you may have challenges. So scrolling, cuz Buzz said, bro, it's called notes on your phone. You guys are hilarious. Mr. Comics 89 says, hey, Reggie, my ASM collecting machine, how's it going? Things are going well, man. I'm taking these ASM books down big time, brother. I am knocking them out left and right. I actually have, do I have an ASM video? No, I've dropped 2 ASM videos, hunting videos over the last 2 days. And then I think I have a different kind of video coming out today at 3:30. So you guys definitely want to stay tuned to that. Chris Barrett, I am not repeating that comment. Oh man. So We Love Comics says 10 to 20 variant covers for new books these days. No, bro, that is old. Chris, you are dealing with old information, my friend. At last count, Batman 1000, I think, had 83 variants, and that was not a complete list. 83 variants for the new Batman 1000. So 10 to 20, that's peanuts, brother. That's standard these days. But that's actually something that I want to get into a conversation with Juan about tomorrow is variants, his impression of variants as a collector, his impression of variants as a comic shop owner, how he manages it, et cetera, et cetera. These are all things that I plan to talk with him a little bit about tomorrow. So, Detective and Action Comics 1000. How many variants? According to one source, there were 83 Batman 1000 variants, and that was not that was not all of them. There were more that were out there, and I also heard that that that's also not the most. I didn't ask the question of what the most was, but 83 was not the most. Let's just put it that way. Um, um, Marcel is asking, "What's your next hunt after you're done with ASM?" Brother, I don't think I'm ever going to be done with ASM. To be honest with you, I mean, I'm just keeping it 100. No, I've made some solid progress on ASM, and if you follow me on Instagram, I actually posted up a video the other day where I actually showed you guys the low number ASM. And then I also showed you, I think it was like 5 or 6 short boxes full of just ASM, basically 1 through 801. So I think whenever I'm done with this, I'll probably start a run of X-Men. I'll probably do, the low number X-Men, nothing too crazy, like maybe, 1 through 101 or something like that. And I have many of those books already. Because I have 1 and I have 2 and then 101 and 94 and blah 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 blah. But maybe some X-Men books because I am a fan of X-Men. So I may try to do that next. But again, really focused right now on on ASM. So I'm scrolling through the comments. What company is your choice for my leather bag? So again, guys, one big thing, and again, I'm a big fan of transparency. So the channel is partially sponsored by BCW, so I typically do BCW product reviews every single month. I am a fan of BCW products, which is why I went to them to do the sponsorship, is because I like their products. I have literally used BCW products since I was a child. I didn't even know that there were other bags and board just out there, just being honest, right? And that's not to say that those products aren't good. My experience is with BCW, and that's why I feel very comfortable representing them and talking about their products, because that's the product that I've used. So when you're talking about Mylars, I actually like BCW's archival bags. Those are the ones that I use. I prefer the 2 mil. Not a fan of the 4 mil. I think the 4 mil is too thick for me. I like the 2 mil, and it works quite nicely. They're relatively inexpensive. The bags and boards that you use for the archival bags are the same ones that you use for your poly bag, so you don't have to buy special bags and boards for the Mylar, for the archival. You use the same ones for the polys and for the others. And what I typically do with my archival bags, the Mylar from BCW, I tend to use the appropriate size bag for the age of the book. So I'll get silver for silver, I'll get modern for modern, and then I get, of course, the appropriate size backing board. And when you're talking about either silver or modern, I like to use 2 backing boards per, because I feel that it gives the book a certain amount of stiffness and rigidity and also protection that I really like. And so that's what I tend to do. So hopefully that answers that question. Chris Barrett says, I thought we didn't use Mylar for ugly books. No, you actually use Mylar for ugly books. They're like beer goggles, right? So if you use Mylar for an ugly book, it makes that book suddenly super attractive. So I definitely encourage that. Lewis, I think it's Lewis, says he uses Comic Care for his backing boards and his bags. Yeah, man, I think you have to use whatever you're comfortable with and whatever works for you. And if that's who you use, I think that works, man. Wild Child says, can you use the BCW UV protection slabs and put a comic outside? Like, maybe I could do that, Wild Child. Chris is quite the adventurer. I think it was a really cool project that he did. For those that don't know, Chris basically used a standard, I think it was backing board, and what he wanted to show, and bagging board, and what he wanted to show was the detrimental effects that that the sun, UV light, can actually have on a comic, and it was serious. I mean, it washed the book out. It was quite interesting. I can't remember how long it stayed out there. Maybe 3 months. I can't remember, but it was a really nice demonstration video, to be honest with you. So, Wild Child, let me consider that one. Let me noodle that, because that would be a pretty cool project to see exactly how the book will fare. right? And it becomes a question of, are you talking about ambient light or are you talking about direct sunlight? Because I think that how the UV protection works, it will fluctuate depending upon those two things. So let me think about that. Scrolling through Mylar, the new beer goggles. Oh man, Lawrence Jackson says sometimes it's better to go home with the ugly book than to go home with your hand in your pockets. Hey, brother, some you have options. You have options. Sometimes you just take the ugly book home and you put it on a Mylar, and suddenly become super attractive. Oh man, you guys are hilarious. Lewis is basically saying he actually doesn't know what a Mylar is. So I actually have a video on that. If you go to the channel, I think it's like comic book protection. There's a couple of videos that I've set up. So when you think about a poly bag is a basic bag. It is a 2 mil thick basic bag that offers environmental and physical protection for a comic, right? And then your backing board has sodium bicarb, which is a neutralizing agent for the acid that is in paper, right? And so when you have your backing board on a comic, you're neutralizing the agent, the acid in the paper, so you're kind of protecting that book from chemical breakdown. The poly bag that goes around it offers some physical protection and also creates like a micro environment, if you will, to kind of protect it from dust and debris and molds and water and all that kind of stuff to some degree. When you and it's a soft product, right? So Mylar is a soft product, which is why it looks kind of hazy, a little foggy. But when you go to a Mylar, even at 2 mils, is a little denser, a little harder, less soft than a poly bag. They tend to be really crystal clear. I think they offer a slightly better physical protection than a poly bag because it is made of harder material. Um, and it also, because it's really clear, because it's really hard, it allows a book to actually present better. And I think it reflects the light a little bit better than a softer poly bag. And so a Mylar is basically an upgraded poly bag. Both of them are archival quality. Both of them protect the books. They just protect them in slightly different ways and also allow that book to present in slightly different ways. So if you want, if you go to the channel and you type in bags and boards or something like that into my channel, you'll probably find 4 videos that I've done on bags and boards and all that kind of stuff. So definitely some cool information there. Undead Mouse is asking about the Gerber guides. I have a whole video on the Gerber guides. It depends, right? The Gerber guides are really cool if you are really interested in like early Silver Age and Golden Age books, right? Because you're able to actually see what these books look like, right? And you have a catalog of book you can kind of flip through and look at, which I think is really cool. You you have to remember that at the time that the Gerber guides came out in 89, 90, the internet wasn't as prolific as it is now, right? And so it was harder to see what these books actually look like, what these comics actually look like. But in the Gerber guide, you had a physical copy, a color photo of what these books were. With the internet now, you have the ability to search. You can go to Heritage, you can go to Comic Link, you can just search Google, and you can actually see these covers. So I don't know if it's necessary to have the Gerber guides. I think that they're cool because they're an important piece of comic book history. Even though I'm not a golden age guy, I think they are an important piece of comic book history because of what they represent. And so if you have 150, 200 bucks, whatever, and you can get a copy of the Gerber guides, I say go for it. I kind of dig them. So, yeah, and that's the thing is many people hadn't heard of the Gerber guides, and that's why I did the video because when you think about things that have changed the comic book market, you think about things like the internet, third-party grading, you think about Overstreet, you think about eBay, right? There you can name off things, but not many people, for whatever reason, have the awareness of the Gerber guide, and that's partly because they weren't widely promoted, in my opinion. I don't even know if they're still printed right now. So you don't have as many people talking about them now. One, because there isn't the necessity to have them now because of the internet. but also because they're not making them anymore. They're not printing them. They're not really available. And so you don't have people talking about them as much. But that's why I created the video. So hopefully you guys have an opportunity to check that out. Chris Barrett says Mylar bags turn a low turns a comic book that's a 2 into a 9. There is no doubt about that, which is why when you guys see me hunting comics, why do I always take them out of the bag? I take them out of the bag and board because Mylar hides a lot. If you put a comic in a Mylar, it will look really good. But when you take it out of that Mylar and you hold it in the light, you can see the imperfections, the indentations. You can see all the things that are made invisible by the Mylar. But again, if you already own the book, put it in the Mylar because people will think you have a 9 when you really have a 2. Trust me on that one. Yeah, so again, a couple of people saying that they're going to start the video over to be able to see me talking about the BCW comic showcases. So you definitely want to check that out because there's some good stuff in there. Gerber guides are rabbit and wonder, brother. Gerber guides are dangerous. I'm telling you, there's so much great stuff in Gerber guides. It's impressive. They make Mylar bags, I want to say, for modern, silver, golden age, CG or slabbed books. I think there's a Mylar option, and I think magazine as well. I'm trying to do it all from memory, but I believe that there are Mylars basically for every book that is out there. And then I think they also have some non-standard size, possibly treasuries, possibly pulp. But if you go to the BCW website, I'm certain that you can probably find something that you're looking for. So you just have to look up there. Russ C is in the house. How you doing? It's good to see you, bro. Chris Barrett is hilarious. He is hilarious. Captain Carnage is asking, what are some tips for people getting back into comics? Bro, there are too many to list off. If you post up a message, I can probably comment. If you go to the channel and you type in a couple of keys around buying tips, suggestions for buying comics, things to consider when buying grails and comics, I basically have a whole video series, if you will, that is for people, right? My philosophy with my channel is that I try to develop content that is designed for new collectors and people that are newly returning to comic collecting, as well as those that have a ton of experience. And so in my videos, I try to cover a lot. Like, just sometimes it's really basic stuff that I keep getting questions on over and over, which is why I create the video. But there are videos literally on everything, right? You want to talk about bagging and boarding? I have a video. You want to talk about where to start with a character that's been around for 80 years, where to start? I have a video on that. You want to talk about how to insure your collection? I have a video. You want to grade? You want to get books pressed? I have a video, right? So if you have a topic, you have to narrow it down for me. If you narrow it down for me, I probably have a video. And I probably have already set up a playlist around that theme. You want to submit things to CGC or EGS or PGX? I have a video on that, right? So there is typically a video on just about everything. There was a question about spec. I think somebody asked a question about spec. I'm trying to scroll to see if I see it. I don't. That one probably got away from me. So all right, guys. Well, I'm going to get myself out of here unless there's a couple of other pressing questions here. I'm going to kind of move it on. Do I collect Funko Pops from Wild Child? I do not, but I actually have a video on Funko Pop somewhere on the channel. But no, I do not collect Funko Pops. I don't collect statues. I am a comic book collector. That is primarily my thing. Any Golden Age books? No Golden Age books for me. I think that was Tony Trombetta's question. Owner of EGS, third-party grading service. No, brother, I'm not dipping my toe into that water at all. Not right now. Maybe in the future. But maybe in the future I'll actually do something. I have a small box of Golden Age books at my ankle here, but most of them were books that were actually given to me, not something that I actually picked up. Routinely troll comics on eBay. Golden Age. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people love Golden Age books. Robotech is asking when Juan's interview is. It is tomorrow. It is Thursday at 7:30 Pacific time. I'm going to have a comic book shop owner on the channel, and we are actually going to dig into the issue of whether the comic book market is headed towards a crash. And we are going to talk about a ton of stuff. We are going to talk about MCU movies and the impact. We're going to talk about variants. We're going to talk about what it takes to successfully run a comic shop, at least in Juan's perspective as an owner for the last 7 years. We are going to dig into the details tomorrow night, Thursday at 7:30 Pacific time. So if you can join it, I think it's going to be a good conversation. So, and again, if you are a Patreon member, if you've made super chats in the past and you have questions that you want me to ask Juan, send me an email at RegieCollects@gmail.com, and I will be certain to get your questions in. I try to give priority, of course, to Patreon members and also those that have given super chats, because these conversations can go 1,000 different ways, and the chat is very fast. And so if I know ahead of time that these folks have questions, I can try to weave them into the conversation. So Russ says Reggie Collects is the ultimate channel for beginners and seasoned vets. I try, brother. I really do try, because part of what I do is I'm constantly asking people, what do you want to have a video on? What do you want to see? What do you want to hear? And then I talk to a lot of people. And when I'm talking to people and they're bringing questions to me of, Reggie, here's what I'm facing, here's what I'm thinking, I'm always thinking about, can I create a video from that? If this person has this question, are there others out there with the same question, right? So I'm constantly asking myself as a marketer, what does my audience need? And then I try to create or feel that need. That's what I do. And so I talk literally. I literally talk to people all day, every day around the world about comics. And every conversation, I learn something. Every conversation, a seed is planted. And I may not do a video on it right away, but those inputs come in and they allow me to create content, hopefully, that resonates with people. And I appreciate, Russ, those kind words, because the channel is really a reflection of you guys. It is a reflection of the ideas and the questions that you bring to me that I'm able to hear and that I'm able to turn into a video. And so I definitely appreciate that. No, those aren't statues. Those are banks. Those are $15 banks that are sitting on the wall that came from Amazon, J. Perry Hill. those are just banks that my wife made me get because she said my room was boring. So I went out and bought a bunch of banks off of Amazon. And then one was donated. This one over here, that awesome black costume Spider-Man, that was actually donated by a subscriber of the channel. Everything else back there was basically a bank that came off of Amazon. So at some point I may get a really cool statue, because I think the statues are cool. I can't jump into those waters, scrolling to the comments here. Alex, the comic hoarder, is in the house. How you doing, brother? It is good to see you, man. Alex says it's sad that I'm at a height of comic book popularity. It's tough for comic shops. That is due to vampire type business practices and maybe poor business plans. Alex, I think you're on to something, brother. Part of what I'm going to be talking to Juan about tomorrow is the anecdotal evidence about shops going out of business. Is that a reflection of the comic book market taking a turn? Or is it the reflection of people trying to run businesses that aren't business people and people that are making poor decisions? Because part of me feels that it's not a reflection of the market. It's a reflection of poor business decisions, and however you want to categorize that, chasing variants, buying too many variants, doing some of the stuff that Chris was talking about earlier today, these business practices that aren't transparent, that aren't in the best interest of the customer. Are these some of the things that are leading to the closure, or are we headed towards a comic book crash, right? But I think Alex is probably onto something. And Alex and I think similarly in a lot of ways. And I really like how he thinks, again, partly because it's how I think. So I definitely dig some of the comments that he makes. So I'm scrolling through here. Poor decisions, mostly from what I've seen. There you go. But people, Marky Mark, look at these comments, or they look at these anecdotal data points, and my local shop is closing. The market must be taking a downturn. No, maybe it's because your comic shop owner made poor decisions. That's why they're going out of business. I mean, the reality is that doctors' offices go out of business all the time. That doesn't mean that that doctor was a bad doctor, right? That just may mean that the doctor was making poor decisions about what insurance he wanted to take and how he wanted to run his office and how he staffed his office. But doctors go out of business all the time. And I use that point of reference because I am in the medical field. Doctors go out of business all the time. And that is not a reflection that healthcare is going away. It's not a reflection that people aren't getting sick. It's not a reflection of that doctor being a bad doctor. It is possibly a reflection of that doctor was just a bad business owner. There is a reason why doctors hire business managers. There is a reason why they hire office managers, because doctors are not business people. Many of them are not, despite the fact that they are really, really smart. They're not business people. They are medical practitioners, and they leave the business side of things to other people that are skilled in those things. And so when comic shops go out of business, it's not necessarily because the market is tanking. It could be because that comic shop owner was more of a collector than a business owner, right? More of a hobbyist than he was a business owner. So again, a couple of things to kind of think about that we're probably going to get into a little bit later. So I absolutely love these free-flowing kind of chats. I really dig these. Ariel saying he agrees his local comic shop has great business practices and does so much for the community and for their customers, and it's always busy. You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? And I think diversification, and that's what we'll talk to Juan about as well tomorrow. Diversification, I think, is a very important thing. Chris Barrett says exactly, feet or no feet. Chris, I never know what you're talking about, brother. I guess you're having a conversation with somebody else in here. Marky Mark says he had a shop here selling hot books out of regular customers' pull boxes. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. That is not good. That is not good. All right. So with that, guys, I am going to wrap this up. Again, I want to thank you guys for spending part of your day with me. If you are joining the chat a little bit late, please go back, watch the beginning of this video, watch the product review of the BCW comic book showcases. I think it's a really good product that they are offering people that is relatively affordable for you to be able to decorate your comic book room or your comic book space. So definitely check that out. Let me know if you have questions, because I'm happy to address those questions. If you are not yet a subscriber of the channel, I definitely want to encourage you to do that so that you can actually stay abreast of all the content that I release on a weekly basis. If you have a chance, make sure you check out the live stream that I'm doing with Juan, a comic book shop owner, tomorrow at 7:30 Pacific time. If you are interested in supporting the channel, check out the links in the description of the video. There's various ways that you can support the channel depending upon what your preferences are, regardless of whether you choose to support or not support. Watching this video, I appreciate that. And that might just be support enough. If you guys need to reach me, feel free to do so at RegieCollects on Instagram and RegieCollects@gmail.com. Take care.